Greetings from South Korea. I am Arirang News AI anchor. Here is the news-making headlines today. President Lee Jae-myung held his New Year's press conference at the Blue House on Wednesday. Around 160 domestic and international journalists attended the event at the Yeongbin-gwan Reception Hall. In his opening remarks, President Lee reiterated his 5 policy priorities for the year: region-led growth that shares opportunities and gains more evenly, sustainable growth built on safety, culture-driven growth, and stable growth underpinned by peace. The Q&A session was divided into 3 categories: the economy, diplomacy and national security, and society and culture. South Korea's Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chol has announced plans to bolster export financing with a new policy-backed funding vehicle. Speaking at a meeting of economy-related ministers on Wednesday, the minister said support will be expanded to cover long-term and lower credit projects, including defense, nuclear power, and industrial plants to help firms enter new markets. He also announced plans to introduce a so-called Strategic Export Finance Fund designed to channel corporate gains back into strengthening the broader industrial ecosystem. Koo added that the government will roll out targeted incentives to boost potential growth, ease polarization, and promote shared growth between large corporations and small and medium-sized companies. South Korea is moving to ease its doctor shortage with an additional national medical licensing exam this year. The measure allows fourth-year medical students who returned to school last summer after policy disputes to qualify for licensure by August. About 1,800 students graduating that month are expected to receive licenses and enter hospitals immediately. The Health Ministry says the rare supplementary exam will be held in spring and summer, with clinical skills tests running from March to April and a written exam scheduled for July. Normally, the medical licensing exam is held once a year in the fall and winter. U.S. President Donald Trump marked the first anniversary of his second-term inauguration on Tuesday with a White House news conference highlighting his economic record and renewed America First push. Trump announced that large investment funds secured through trade deals with South Korea and Japan will be directed to an Alaska natural gas development project, calling the agreements unprecedented. He said the Alaska pipeline will export natural gas to Asian markets. Under the deal, South Korea agreed to invest $350 billion in the U.S. in exchange for lowering reciprocal tariffs from 25% to 15%. Of that amount, $150 billion will go to shipbuilding, while $200 billion will be allocated to energy, semiconductors, and artificial intelligence tied to national security. Japan pledged a separate $550 billion in investment. U.S. President Donald Trump said the United States will very shortly begin targeting drugs entering the country by land, expanding his administration's anti-narcotics campaign. Trump told reporters on Tuesday that the move follows U.S. military strikes on suspected drug boats in the Caribbean Sea and Pacific Ocean, which he said has sharply reduced drug trafficking by water. He said land routes are now the focus, but did not name any country involved in the trafficking. Trump's remarks come as U.S. military forces seized the 7th oil tanker linked to Venezuela on Tuesday. That is all from me today. Thank you for watching.